everybody doesn't define the basics the same way. When we talk about being economically secure, what does that mean? I could have a home and a roof over my head, but am I really getting everything that I need to have? So, what am I doing currently? My career is in social and human services. Um, and so anything I say and or share here is going to be my personal opinion or something I know to be true because this is my area of expertise. I don't want to share anything that may offend anybody. However, I'm okay with having difficult conversations and working through understanding how other people see the world because I think that's the only way we're going to move this forward. Now, I think we all get to a space where as we get older, we are expected to have all the tools to be successful, find employment, find sufficient shelter, make sure that we're able to feed ourselves, and we can have a network of people around us to kind of take us where we need to go or where we see ourselves moving. And unfortunately, it's not like that for everybody. Right. I just have to put it out there. That's not where everybody is. So for me, what I am doing currently specifically within economic security is I currently focus primarily on workforce development and education. However, in the past, I have had to understand and learn and work through many other areas to understand all of the nuances that come with it. And we oftentimes will try to separate finding employment and finding a sufficient education separate from everything else. And it just doesn't work that way. It may have previously, but it just does not. So currently, the conversations that I have, whether they are personal or professional, really stem around I'm looking for work or I'm looking for a career. I've learned over years and interacting with a lot of people in these spaces that when we say job, it's really, really, truly associated with um, short term. It's an in between. It's an interim. It's something that's just going to put pocket change there for me to have fun with. What people are looking for is a career where the professional growth can and needs to go both ways. And at this moment, while it is starting to happen, it isn't really happening fast enough. And there are quite a few of us who are just like, okay, well, just turn the page, they'll come along. But there's fear there. There's hesitancy that's real, right? And I find myself often having to hop the fence when having certain conversations because there are quite a few people currently who are um, still in the space of like, no, a job is a job, and your personal life is your personal life, and this is what I need to get done. We're moving fast away from a person is a machine. They are not. We are all very nuanced. There are so many parts to us that are moving at the same time that we have now got to acknowledge it, and there is no, they're like, there's no shying away from that. Um, and specifically, we have to also acknowledge that there are populations uh, of people, myself included, as a Black woman, who oftentimes are forced and pushed to push twice as hard just to get right where maybe someone else is who doesn't look like me or doesn't sound like me. Now, it's real, it's evident, and I'm not going to discount anyone else's experience, not necessarily their opinion, because sometimes we can have an opinion about something without really understanding some of the other working pieces of a specific scenario. So, no, like my experience is I may know more. I may show that I know more, and it's very evident. However, I'm still being overlooked. I'm still having to work twice as hard. I'm still being told no. Uh, and I can most definitely acknowledge that while everybody is being told no, the reason for that no could be very different. That doesn't mean we're going to stop. That just means we got to look for another door. And so when we talk about economic security, if I don't have sufficient employment or if I don't have sufficient education to get the employment, how do I have a roof over my head? And how do I have that roof over my head if I can't plan financially, which I need the job to do? And if I have children, that's a whole nother layer of thinking, which I do, right? I have 2 kids, and my husband and I, like, we love them very, very much, but it all ties together to be economically secure. What is economic security? What I'm currently doing is trying to move the conversation forward, build a bridge to excellence, because it is very real that while our experiences are different, how we get there will also be different, but the tools needed, oh, they need to be strong because I have to be mentally and physically fit. I have to maintain my finances, some more than others, just because we know they're going to be looking twice as hard. I'm going to have to also make sure that I have a network of people around me who are going to support me sometimes when I'm down. I'm also recognizing that I have to be there for some others who might need me when they are down. That's where this community really makes that turning point real. That's what this space is. I want to be able to share this with you. So that is what I'm currently doing. The next part of this conversation really is where we've been. And I feel like I shared a little bit of that. Um, I did. I did have all the tools to be successful. And like most, you have a tragic moment in your life where you don't know what to do. I had a 10-month-old son and my first husband passed. Didn't know what to do. My family was there, but my family was also going through a couple things at the time. And so, one thing that I never thought I would ever need to do was to be on public assistance. And that's where my journey starts because I was working, was employed, had my own place. We did as a family at that time. We were excited about bringing our son into the world. And at that moment, when I lost him, I felt like I lost my footing. I lost my foundation. I had nothing to build from. Previously, though, my perception and my perspective of those who were receiving public benefits was one of, well, that's what they need, that's what they get, no more, no less. And the narrative that the people on welfare simply take money from the government and they're using our tax dollars is the narrative that is oftentimes shouted. However, there is nuance. That's not what I heard at the time. Being that person, being that mom, myself, I had to then humble myself, recognizing that both my mother, my father, and my aunt were coming together to support me. They also recognized that I needed to get back on my feet. They did not want me to be enabled to just sit and do nothing. I did apply for public benefits. I did. I was embarrassed. I was confused. I was frustrated. I had a baby who was depending on me, looking for his dad, but not necessarily understanding what was happening at that moment. And it was frustrating for me. I sat in places, kept telling myself that I did not belong there. I'm with you. I felt like I don't belong there, but it's there. It's a resource. I sat there so frustrated because in my mind, I did not want to be a part of the status quo. I just could not. That is not how I was raised. Regardless, I did it. It took for somebody to take a chance on me. I did what they asked. They have a work program. Went through the work program, and within a couple of weeks, again, they took a chance on me. I was asked to apply for a position within the organization I was receiving services from. And my mentality shifted. Well, the problem really shifted because it was, they owe me. I feel entitled. This is frustrating. I don't belong here. So many different emotions happening at one time. More than one thing can be true at the same time. And it is so confusing and frustrating, but we work through it. And when I started working there, I saw things from a different perspective. But now there's a new problem, and it frustrated me. In the beginning, I sat, as a customer, as somebody receiving public benefits, I sat in those classrooms, I sat with a case manager, I came home every day, I applied for work like they told me to, and it was just feeling like I could do nothing right and nothing is ever enough. And why am I not moving fast enough? And I recognized, for me specifically in my journey, that I needed to make a change. My mentality was not allowing me to grow. My mentality was not allowing me to see those who were really taking a chance on me and trying to help me. I sat there and I remember sitting next to a woman who said, "Yeah, I've been in this program for 9 years. Same thing in, same thing out. I just want my money so I can go." And I was confused and frustrated, but she was content. I don't know what her goals were. I don't know where she is now. But when she spoke, something clicked, and I needed to make a move. I sat in that class. I took notes. I spoke with the instructor afterward. I went back to my case manager and I shared with her the experience that I just had in a class. And she told me that was normal, unfortunately, but that I need to continue to stay focused and try. And everyone has their own journey. I could be told that I was different. I could be told a lot of different things, but the only thing that kept me moving and that pushed me up was the fact that somebody took a chance on me. And I had to allow myself to listen and learn. Now, what I was more frustrated with was by the time I started working, everything turned off in the month of December. I had not received my first check from working, but I was on time and I was timely with reporting, the changes of my income. And all of the subsidies I was receiving stopped. There was no there was no "let me help you," shift. It was like, no, you're good." And I started to understand the mentality of some of the other people I sat with and I worked with because they had dealt with it before. There were so many stories I sat and I listened to as a customer. Yeah, I get the job and I do enough to get this and then I go back and I just did not understand why. I didn't. I didn't. The government agency was a complete ghost to me at the time. I'm working. This is the first step up. It gives me something to do. I see new challenges in front of me, but I didn't understand the larger picture and I didn't understand why I was being taken on this journey because it was completely left field from what I was doing before. And all of a sudden, I'm back to asking for help, not with public assistance, but just on family. And this is why it's important. I then started to engage with more of my family. I started to address my mental health. I recognize that where I was is not where I wanted to be, but I really do need to understand what just happened to me because it was not normal for me. And there was nothing wrong with that. And having to share that therapy is not a bad thing was really important because it also identifies that there's something going on and I can't see it from where I'm sitting. And I need somebody to help me map this out, but we've got to go back. We've got to go back. And so from there, I continued working where I was at the site that I was then a customer. And I started noticing different problems. See, we may be serving the people directly, but those who are working are also a type of customer. They also have challenges that they're looking to work through. And they didn't really have the space to speak or share, offload, They had to bottle it up themselves. I recognize now as an employee, I was still struggling. I didn't have everything I needed. And I started looking up again. I started noticing, okay, well, if it's not here, then it has to be higher. What's the problem? What's the problem? There was so much to talk about. There was so much to discuss. But you know what? I've gone through, what are we doing and where we've been. And I want to go through, where I'm going and what's needed. But I'm gonna just pause right here so we can get through a quick break. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna wrap this up because I'm super excited to share that journey. Before we keep going, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to get your voice out there. That's who today's episode is sponsored by. Everything is in one place. You have the opportunity to record, edit, host, and distribute in one space, and it's going to be distributed to all of the major podcast platforms when you are ready to publish and get it out there. Now, when I say everything is in one place, I do mean it. This podcast is hosted through anchor.fm. Now, the best part about it is that it's free. No gimmicks. I'm not taking you down the rabbit hole here. Everything is literally free. You create your account, you go in, and within a couple minutes, you're ready to go. You're set up and you're ready to go. Now, in order to get started, you're going to have to download the app on your phone, or you can head over to anchor.fm to share and be heard. Now, let's get back to today's episode. So where are we going? Where are we going? So again, I have no co-host. It's just me. So I'm going to tell you where I'm going. I'm going to tell you where I'm going. And I'm going to start this off by saying I love what I do. I will continue to love what I do. However, I recognize that my fear primarily comes from the fact that I don't know if I'll ever be able to make as much of an impact moving forward as I do now in my work. And I want to continue to build this up. I want to continue to blow this up as much as possible. But my goal is to make sure that I can share this mission and message of accessing excellence. You can access excellence. I'm going to say that one more time. You can access excellence. I have to say it because, making a long story short, I went from being securely employed to being let go, to having to apply for public benefits, to sitting there wondering, why am I here? Why am I here? I didn't even understand my career path at that time. I was so confused. I was so baffled by what the heck was going on. I then turn around, I start working, and I started seeing different things and different problems I wanted to solve. And ultimately, the problem I was looking to solve at the time was, where do we start? Where do we start? Being economically secure means, where do we start? I go from working at one of the sites in which I was a customer to constantly failing and not getting an interview with the agency itself that oversees it, the state agency. And I finally did it. I finally did it. And once I did it, the same thing happened all over again. I recognized that this was my dream. I had to do it, and I would be doing nothing different. I would do nothing different. I started working, and I literally I came in fresh eyes, bushy tailed, and the only thing I could do was stand outside that building on the first day and just cry. Like, I cried. And if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., and you know where I'm talking about, I work at actually the headquarters building. Um, I stood under a clock tower and I cried. I cried. Um, and I couldn't believe I was there. Like, I just couldn't. And this was a turning point for me because I felt like all of the people I touched in the previous positions, and there were two because I got promoted, um, I'm going to do them justice. I'm going to continue to serve. And when I started, I could not, for the life of me, make it make sense for why it was me. Why was I chosen to do this? Like, I had that sense of purpose fire up inside of me, and I just did not know what to do with it. And I felt so confused. From there, I continued to work. I took on extra projects. I was asked to jump on and learn different things. And the web got bigger. And it becomes so overwhelming that I needed to go back and address my own mental health. I needed to go back and I started burning myself out because I was just so driven to do it that I recognized that's not the best approach to this. I neglected my family for quite some time because I was just working until 9, 10 o'clock at night. I get in early and leave the latest there. Um, but then where's my balance, right? I wanted to serve the people so well that the people who were closest to me felt a lot of the pain and frustration of me just not being there. I wasn't present. Um, from there, I later got promoted, and again, yeah, I laterally moved, and then uh, the promotion came, and I would not undo my experience for the world. And I continue to love what I do every single day. I continue to love it, and I love the challenge. I love the questions I get to answer. But there has to be more. There has to be more because we're not pulling the pieces together and we're not having all of the right conversations. And here's why we're not having the right conversations. And this really goes to this last question of like where we're going and what's needed. Now, where are we going? Where am I going? I'm going to build bridges. I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing, but I'm building bridges in the process, and I want you to be a part of that conversation. And that is why this is the turning point. The turning point starts when you recognize that your purpose is a part of something bigger, and you want to be a part of that change. And this is that change. So when we talk about economic security, it is a very real conversation to have. I cannot be successful in being secure economically if my health and well being isn't aligned. If I don't have the ability to ground myself and identify where my assets are as a person, where does your legacy start? What tools do you need to make sure that it's not just about you, but the next generation? When we talk about our children and we're talking about our families, how do we address all of those things? How do we make sure that all of these systems are working in place? I'm not the expert when we start jumping down these rabbit holes, but when it talks about putting it all together, I got you. I got you. Because it starts from day one. And we can have conversations about what Head Start looks like, what making sure that prenatal care looks like. We could most definitely have those conversations to talk about the early childhood education and development. I think that is significant, but even then, it's not just the child, it's you. It's your siblings in the home with you. It's going to be the people in your network, it's the people in your circle, whether they're professional or personal, it's you, right? We are all made up of a bunch of different things, and that is okay. And just to keep it going, what does it mean to be financially secured, aware, educated, empowered? All of those words put together, because I always lose words. I'm gonna tell y'all that now. Always losing words. But what does it mean to be clear and understanding and empowered to say, you know what, these financial choices are for me. I am not trying to be anybody else but me. I want to move things forward. And on top of that, when we talk about education, when we talk about the workforce, when we talk about finding a career, it could be the short-term job. It could be the interim job. It could be the next step on your career. It could be finding somebody to partner with to blow some things up because you know you have a grand idea that's ready to move forward. It could be all of those things. But all of those things together collectively make you. economically secure. So I just kind of went down on this whole tangent of what it means to be economically secure because the question I'm answering is where are we going? And so that's where Through Concrete lives, right? It's making a breakthrough. We're not doing what we were doing just because it was okay at the time. Times change, we change, things evolve. We need to get there. And that's where I'm going. That's where I want to take you. And what is needed? You are needed. You are needed to be a part of this conversation because I want to hear what's happening in your area. Tell me what's happening in your state. Let me know what's happening on your side of the world. I don't know where you guys are because every time I go to look at the map of listeners, you guys are international and I love it. I love the fact that we can have conversations that are beyond just me being here where I am. And of course, you guys can see where I am if you follow Build, Rise, and Thrive. With that, yes, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm not going to hold you too much longer, but let me just share a couple of updates with you before you go. Now, I have an event taking place on the 16th of April. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 12:30. It's called Power Your Purpose. And yes, we're addressing some spring cleaning. And what is Power Your Purpose? I know you're so curious, and I'm going to tell you what Power Your Purpose is. It is for us to really recalibrate and get ourselves together. So we can always address what everybody else needs and what they need to do, but what sometimes we do need to take an opportunity to do is just deal with ourselves, right? So what's going on with you? Let's ask these questions. Let's get it figured out. And once we do that, we have the momentum and the power to move forward. The second, the second announcement I have for you guys is Triumphant Treasures. I have bracelets and bands on sale. Now, they are something that I love, love, love to do. It's something that I do on my downtime. However, I have built up an inventory and I have continued to sell out on that inventory. And I want you all to be a part of that. And so when we start talking about, you know, wearing motivational bands or just signaling out your color and just being motivated and being in that space, I want you all to be empowered to do that. So I want you all to explore the Infinity and Core bracelets and bands because everybody deserves to mark their milestones, celebrate their growth, and share their journey. That is my second one. And the third one, I know I didn't really lean on this too much, you guys, but I am a life and career coach. So if you need a coach, if you're looking for a life coach, if you're looking for somebody to just have a conversation with about your career and move that forward, there are so many nuances to asking the right questions at the right time so that you are not overloaded. You need an opportunity and a space to just lay that ground and fail forward a couple times, rework some things. Let me know. Go to the site, buildriseandthrive.com, put in your request, schedule your consultation. Yes, the consultations are free. I believe everybody should have an opportunity to share their story. We will go through a consultation and I will leave you with that. I absolutely love every last one of you all. And as always, you're here listening to Through Concrete. Y'all know the flow. We're here to always find out where we've been, where we're going, and what we're doing. Together, we're going to continue to make a breakthrough. I appreciate every last one of you all. See you next week.